Sveya
Yeah.
Merciful Arena has done some good work. All right, so here we are. Avion's going to get things kicked off here.
Right. We've got Dark Revenge on the bottom of your screen, Avion up at the top, Avion on the play. Kind of a slow hand, but they do have a Jada and Enter the Monastery on 3.
Yeah, and don't underrate the fact that just Dark Revenger is missing some power here, so they can potentially,
But yeah,
Permafrost plus Plunk to get through. But if they brick on power here, this is going to be
yeah,
really tenuous.
this is a missed third power for Dark Revenge. We really need to find a power here off this draw.
Wow, they got it. So that pays off the debt
Ooh, ooh, ooh,
immediately.
ooh, ooh.
And now Avion is going to be taking some time off here. Enter the
Yeah.
monastery.
Wow, big permafrost to take care of that Jada, which means the Plunk is going to hit at least twice. Ooh, finding that power. And now
Pretty
being
good.
able to plunder off the Huntress to get another power, clean up all their power woes. Good start for Dark Revenger.
Yeah, now these Stormhall platings are going to be huge. And they're going to be able to do a lot of damage on this board. Valkyrie Enforcer, love it. So we could see the classic play since the beginning of the game. Valkyrie Enforcer, a permafrosted unit to unlock it, silence the
Love
text
it.
of the unit and all attachments on that unit, which includes the permafrost stun the cursed unit.
And it works. Works pretty well in this scenario. Get that 4/5 blocker back. Second copy of Mavelov Huntress coming down. Going to plunder away to get another power and make a big attacker.
Yeah, this is going to re-unlock Plunk here because we're going to get to sort of trade off the Huntresses with both units on the board. So we're going to get to draw another card. Now, the good news for Avion is that they're only taking 3. They do have the power all rolled up for that Stormhall plating,
Yeah.
and with 2 copies coming. But
Ooh, that's a good
oh,
draw too. Bet you're gonna hit perfect timing for that. That's gonna slow down Dark Revenger, and that's gonna buy Avion lots of time that they need to get into that Stormhall plating range. Kind of the perfect draw there.
yeah, I mean, this was not a turn that Avion could afford to just sort of like take off. And Dark Revenger is going to be able to clear out
Sure,
things.
but
Yeah. Now the
that's
only
all
now
right.
the
Svedja did her job.
She sure did. Now the big question for Avion is, we'll see what they draw. Do you run out the first Stormhall plating because you are
I
hitting
think
for a
so.
lot?
Yeah, absolutely. You got that second one to back it up. Get that damage going now. Dark Revenger's got an empty board, and those hit really hard. Dark Revenger's already down to 13. And then if things get hairy, you got the second one. This is tough.
Yeah, and this is a little tricky here because if you jack and ditch the sigil, you're getting that double damage, but that does mean you would not have the third power to be able to play out a crafty occultist. And
Right?
if you play the crafty occultist first, okay, so we're gonna actually go for a Jotun hurler.
Basically gonna get a snowball off of the no end. Okay. And then play crafty pitching the hurlers. Gonna draw Jack and another permafrost.
Yeah, I guess this is just gonna be a double crafty turn.
Does put a good amount of stats out on the board. Go wide against plating.
I mean, it's a little dangerous because like a sweeper,
Yeah.
you're losing a lot, but also if there's a sweeper and they have a Stormhall plating and you're at 13, this is going to be dicey either way.
I
I
was
think
gonna say if they have that, you're basically dead.
Dark Revenger was really hoping to pick up a bullseye there, to just be able to pop the Stormhall plating.
Oh, interesting. Didn't make any play.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I mean, at a certain point, what does playing I guess the second crafty occultist would have been able to attack. So
Yeah.
now picking up a dazzle here. We're going to start off with Jack, ditch Snowball.
Yeah, he put that weapon down to 2 armor. Torch is gonna finish off the first plating. Gonna pass it back. Avion has Icaria and the second plating. That the power doesn't come in undepleted though, right? So it can only play one of them.
The tome does.
Or does the tome does. So then
Yeah, yeah. So we can get the tome down, but we're not going to. Avion is, I guess they wanted to be able to ultimate the Icaria.
hmm, okay.
Yeah, not.
All right. Dark Avenger gonna play out the crafty.
Yeah, so they did find a bullseye now. Finally,
There you
they're
go.
breathing a little bit of sigh of relief.
Wonder if that's going to come back to bite Avion. They're having that Akaria out to be able to attack this turn seems like it could be really valuable. But yeah, this bullseye going to take care of the weapon. Purchase
Now,
could
one
draw
of the
two.
arguments for why you don't is you insulate yourself a little bit better against Jack because you're not giving them two things to hit.
True. That's a great point.
So now Avion has found a Winchest Merchant. Is this going to go for Svetya Merciful Arene? The only issue with getting Svetya Merciful Arene is like you don't know the game will go that long in order to pay it off. Like if Dark
Right.
Revenger has a really big turn and your next turn is just playing something on the ground, could be dicey. So they're going to go for Sword of Unity instead. Play out the Ikaria now.
Immediately trigger. Yep. Go up. And now has that sword available next turn. So this is the window that Dark Revenger needed. But can they take advantage of it?
Right. I mean, if Dark Revenger can do something like if they can just sort of eliminate this board, then the Sword of Unity does very little.
Right.
So they are going to try to.
Dazzle the Merchant first. It's funny, Dark Revenger has 8 power, which is a lot, but they are kind of restricted. It's basically using their entire power every turn. And yeah, the Jack taking that, okay, that's going to deal the damage. It's going to kill the Ikaria. The other one's stunned. Yeah, I mean, Dark Revenger has an opportunity here. I wonder if you play the Kenna just to get the damage race going. Get that 4 attack out there.
I mean, going shields down on the Dazzle seems tough here. Now, if Avion could top deck, I guess they just don't have as many sweepers now. Oh, so they pick up Svetya Lightbringer. That Aegis is huge.
Ooh, another
Oh
Svet, right on
man.
time. Very well timed Svetyas.
And all it's going to do is just pop the Aegis here.
Yeah, but the fact that the Svetya has Aegis. Yeah. Oh, but this now with the Jack can pop the Aegis, and now that can stun that Svetya.
Yeah, this is going to be lethal here.
And that's just lethal. Wow, what a draw getting that Jack. Oh, wow. Dark Revenger, what a comeback. Well done.
Yeah, I mean, things got bad in a hurry there for Avion. I mean, it. I think they're going to have to think about what would have happened had they gone and gotten the equalize there,
Yeah.
because they might have been able to get into a spot where they could have made um, a Dark Revenger discard their entire hand if it was like the last card they played for the turn. Now there was a face Aegis, so that's going to be the best argument against playing equalize in that spot. But yeah, so we'll get to see game two there. I mean, what an incredibly close game. I mean,
That was.
and it Dark Revenger there. We fought through multiple copies of Stormhalt plating. That's not an easy task.
Yeah, well done. Really, really, it was a show of classic put yourself in a position to win, right? Needed the right draws, needed the bullseye, needed a couple other things to go their way, even needed that top Jack at the end to win the game, but really put themselves in a position where, hey, if I draw what I need, I can turn this game around and set up for that. So very well navigated by Dark Revenger. No wonder they're 6-0 to start the tournament and up one game.
No wonder indeed. All right.
All
So
right,
now for
game
Dark.
2.
Yeah, for Avion, they're gonna redraw this hand.
Hmm.
They did manage to find something with some
Okay.
card advantage in those Enter the Monasteries. They have a Valkyrie Enforcer as an early play. The bullseyes in this matchup are pretty fascinating because they tend to be pretty bad actually early. They don't interact with that much of what Avion has going on.
Right.
But then you get into the late game, and when they're trading with an A cost Stormhawk plating, that is an enormous swing.
Right. In most matchups, you think the bullseye has that cheap interaction, but really, this is a late game. I spend 1 power to take out your expensive equipment. Yeah,
Exactly.
expensive attachment there.
So no
Not the
plunk.
fastest hand, though. No plunk. They do have a Jack on 3 and a Crafty on 3, but being
Yeah,
on the draw with no plays on 2 is going to be a little slow.
the turn three play of Crafty to ditch both maybe the hurler and the snowball will be enormous here. You're going to get a 3/3 flyer and a Grenadin and 2 new cards.
Yep, that's
And
what we're going to see.
yeah, maybe the know when to hold him goes instead of the snowball, but no, it's going to be that. And picking up a Ken is nice.
Let's see. Yep, so Dark Avenger going to be the one hitting the board first.
We're gonna get some Valkyrie tribal action here. When Ikaria
Nice.
ultimates, she gives both plays a Justice Sigil and gives each Valkyrie in your hand +1/+1.
Yeah. You don't see it that often where it helps other Valkyrie, but yeah, two in hand is going to be a big pump there. And I'm going to take that out though. All right, now we've got Enforcer and another Ikaria here. None of the huge haymakers that Avion has in the deck. Do you
The
have
thing,
enough? Can you do both? No, you're short of. Yeah, you can't Ikaria trigger
yeah,
and Valkyrie.
the the dangerous thing here about not playing Valkyrie Enforcer is you are setting yourself up to potentially have Kenna pop next turn because already 2 units went there for her ultimate, and so they're going to be able to draw back either the snowball or maybe one of the other a spell in their hand.
Right. Now
So
Avion
look
can
at
yeah.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
not playing the Ikaria ultimate, getting down the Valkyrie Enforcer, playing it very carefully. Wow, Dark Avenger's playing fast here.
No one to hold him for a Primal Sigil. Gonna be able
Look
to
at
pitch
that
that to the
play.
Jack.
What a play.
Boom, boom. Take out your 2 units. Wow.
No one to hold him for a sigil.
No one to hold him for a sigil to get the Jack double damage. That was fantastic. Took out both of Avion's units, and that was a punch in the gut right now because that's really what Avion needed to stabilize. And now you can silence and get a 3/3 blocker, but definitely on the back foot here.
Yeah, I mean, is if this game isn't over this turn, it's going to be over very quickly. Permafrost, drop
Yep.
down to
3,
3,
draw nothing, and
and
that
they've
is the
got Dazzle for
match.
backup. Yeah, it
Wow.
a little too much power there at the end.
Whew.
Avion drops in the semifinals. Dark Revenger, your undefeated player, moving on to the finals of this tournament. They are now
Wow.
just one game away, well, one match away rather.
7-0 through the Swiss and the first 2 rounds of the top 8 going to the finals. Well done, Dark Revenger. Credit to Avion. It was awesome all the way to the semis with the sweet version of the Combray build. So congrats to them. Definitely well deserved. But Dark Revenger, wow. 7-0 straight through. At some point, we got to get a game count on that because they've looked really solid throughout. But heading into the finals, an undefeated record and gets a little bit of a break to watch the other semis. So Dark Revenger's got to be feeling pretty good.
Absolutely. So we can get started. Do you want to take a
Good.
break or do you want to get into the next round or the next semi, I guess?
Go right in if the players are
All
ready.
right.
I don't need a break. All right, who we got?
It's going to be Spifferific and Popetito here. This I'll update in a few minutes to say that Dark Revenger won. But Popetito on a pretty similar build to what we just saw from Dark Revenger. Spifferific's playing Combray, but we're going to looking at a much more controlling version.
Mhm.
So we've got Pillar of Progress's coveted gemstones, Diana Faith Shields, Age Worn Vestige, Grodov Strangers, the Speaking Circle. They do have Defiance. I really like having access to that card.
Yeah.
And but the this is going to be a tough one for them in the sense that they actually just don't really have draws which contest an early plunk, and
Yeah.
so that'll be a big thing to watch out for. They do make up for that by having those age worn vestiges. That 3/9 relic weapon can just really hit hard against early Aegis units like plunk, but you got to ramp into it.
Yeah, and this seems like the more I would say traditional build of the Combray ramp. Like the Avion's deck was different, was built differently than what we normally see. This is sort of going back to the old the old classic Combray ramp strategy with a little bit more relics and wraths. Just see that.
Yeah, yeah, and Grodov Stranger, the big sort of card this weekend that I'm not used to always seeing. Obviously, Stormhall plating has become such a staple for big Justice decks. Gives you some early health back in the form of armor, and then late game can really help clean up a messy board.
Let's take a look at Spifferific's deck we were just talking about here. This is their version of the Combray Control versus Combray Midrange here. But yeah, Diana, 4 copies of Shenra Speaks, 3 copies of Ageborn Vestige, Grodov Stranger, Speaking Circle. So definitely a different approach. 4 copies of Equalize. Definitely relying on those wraths to do board wipes to do a little bit more of that heavy lifting. Now it's a little awkward you mentioned with Plunk having that Aegis. The Defiances and Wraths are a little tough, right? Because you got to pop the Aegis first, and it's not really as efficient and Plunk's drawing cards as you go. So yeah, it's going to be tough to see how Spiff navigates that.
Yeah, they got their work cut out for them, but if you made it to the top 8, you probably ran into Sky Craig at least once, um, in the, Swiss rounds, and they did defeat another Combre player in the quarterfinals. Popetito, of course, they're coming off of, uh, just an enormous comeback against Frafa in the previous round. They're pretty fortunate for them that they got to be the second of the semifinals after that one.
Absolutely. So BK, you've been in this position before, going thinking about Dark Revenger. I know you've obviously played in a lot of competitive events before at the highest levels.
Yeah.
Dark Revenger, you're starting off 6-0, 7-0. How does that make you feel? Like, are you calming your nerves? Are you going for a walk? Are you just like, let's just get the game going? Let me keep my momentum going. What's your brain? How does your mental space go when you're in Dark Revenger's seat?
Yeah, I usually try to get walk off some nervous energy. I tend to am like listening to something on my phone or like playing like a puzzle game. I just need to honestly, I'm one of those people. I don't want to talk to other people that much about it because I don't want to have to sort out like what the advice they're giving me. I not that my teammates haven't had good advice in the past, but
Yeah,
when you're at that spot, you've done a lot of preparation already. All right.
yeah.
And speaking of which, it's time to get down into the action. Off and running. Topito and Spifferific. Spifferific got a nice start. That pillar of progress on turn 2. Will it get bullseyed by Popetito, or we see something like, well, they can't actually play out the strategize. Their power is coming into play quite depleted this game to start.
All right. Welcome everybody to the second semifinal. We've got Spifferific at the bottom of your screen. We've got Popetito up at the top. Spifferific of Team We Stream Games on that Combray build. Popetito TRS on that classic Team Skycrag build. All right, starting things off, Popetito really slow hand. Honestly, don't really have a plunk. Don't really have any action going on early. Couldn't even play out that strategize on turn 2. Really just starting to deploy here. Is that going to be the key? Spifferific on the play and getting to ramp out. Is that going to be enough to get ahead? Popetito going to go a turn 3 strategize. There's the plunk. A little late to the party.
I mean, the defining moment there was that Popetito chose not to bullseye the Pillar of Progress,
Yep.
recognizing they're going to be going up against age-worn vestiges, coveted gemstones, Stormhall platings, and knowing that they're not going to be able to win this game quickly, they wanted to give themselves a shot to be able to have a really high impact play. We'll see how that works out.
Really tough decision here on this strategize. Taking their good old time here. Now they do have power in hand. It's slow, right? The Silexes and the Crest is a little bit slow, but they do have power to keep developing and nice 10 if they want to run that out at some point. But Spifferific's got to be pretty happy. You're able to ramp. Now they are missing power here. Would have liked to be able to hit that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's kind of a rough turn 6. Or not even turn 6. Turn with 6 power, I should say.
I mean, they got to, they got to ramp. One of the things when you ramp so many times, it's not going to be a shocker when you miss a power,
Yeah,
right? Like
that's true.
they played a new beginning and Pillar of Progress and now Coveted Gemstone. It's like, oh man, I'm missing a power drop, and it's like,
Yeah.
well, how much of your draw do you want to be power? And
Right,
being
right.
at 6 power already is pretty nice, even if they didn't get to do anything else. Now for Popetito, tricky turn. Um, maybe how much do you want to get in the business of leaving up power early? One of the things that's going to be very tricky is that advanced players like Spifferific are not necessarily going to just run things into your dazzles and your bullseyes. And so if you just sit back and waste power, you're going to get punished.
And here comes Howling Peak Smuggler. I think that's one of the more cautious plays, but I like it because it allows you to get out on board, allows you to take some action, find the right pieces while not just dumping like a plain Kenna on the board or anything. Gonna go and get that boar again, like you said earlier, recognizing how important the relics are going to be in this matchup.
Yeah, and Popetito knows Spifferific's on
Oh,
four
wow.
Grodoff Strangers and missed a power last turn, so they're going to lose the board right there. One of the big sort of decisions this weekend for Sky Craig players was, are you playing Ruin in your market? Or are you playing Boar? If you play Boar, maybe you get to pop multiple relics. But the big advantage that Ruin has is it gets to kill a Stormhall plating by being fast before it's done anything to your board. Now,
Yeah.
Popetito has settled on board this weekend, and we got to see that just pop off the coveted gemstone.
Yep. Did the job.
So right now, Builder's Decree is being played. It's amplified once, so we're going to get a 6/6, and we're going to lock out. Well, it's kind of tricky. It could be. I could imagine a lot of these cards.
Yeah, a lot of the cards. They're gonna get out the bullseye. That's what the thought was there. But yeah, gonna get that vanilla 6/6 and lock out the bullseye for a few turns.
I think I would have hit the Permafrost. Nah, that was the top of the deck. But
Sure
Permafrost lines up quite nicely here against the big old Justice
does.
Sigil.
All right. Opetito gonna be able to attack in for 2. And you're gonna play that plunk. So now Spifferific's gonna have to figure out a way to answer this plunk. Well, do
Wow.
you trust in the heart of the speaking circle? No, just gonna go Grodov Stranger first.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's you can against two open power like
Yeah.
that. It too way too likely to go badly.
Agreed.
The Grodov Strange. Now the Ageborn Vestige would have worked really well for Spifferific because it would have just killed the plunk. But getting Grodov Stranger down right now with Defiance up, this feels like a good spot. If Popetito tries to do something cheeky here with Kenna plus Torch, you're really going to get to blow them out.
Yeah, absolutely. They did have that dazzle up at the end of turn, maybe considering dazzling that Grodov Stranger, but yeah, just gonna pass the turn. Povetito a little stressed on power here, only at 5 power with a lot of cards in hand that they can't really deploy. Drawing a second copy of Bullseye, that second one is also locked out by that Builder's Tree. All right, gonna trade the Plunk plus Torch. Wow, that's a lot of resources to trade for that Grodov Stranger. I guess you got to do it.
And
That's
we
gonna
still
open the
have
door for a speaking.
Defiance up. Yeah.
Quarry, the fine hit.
Yeah. I mean,
Got to dig. Where it helps disjunction.
disjunction.
Oh,
So disjunction's interesting because you could potentially disjunction that the permafrost, and then I think the last one was Torgov's
yep,
wares.
yeah.
And so what are we gonna be doing?
I think that's probably the quarry.
You were right.
Like Builder's Decree and a Sigil. It's the Defiant.
Oh no, so they took Torgov's wares.
Oh,
So
Torgos.
you
Okay,
were
there you go.
wrong.
I was wrong. You got me.
So yeah, so Defiance. If we see Defiance on the Howling Peak Smuggler, I imagine we'll see a bullseye in response, powered up to 3 damage, can kill the speaking
There you
circle.
go. Yep. Wow, Bullseye's been quite the card today, BK. Very
Yeah,
flexible. Killing sites, killing units, taking out big weapons. All right, another copy of Grodov Stranger on an empty board. Why not?
yeah, it's amazing how punishing these Grodov Strangers are against the Skycrag deck. Now the Permafrost can deal with it nicely, but in these turns where they're holding up Dazzle and expecting to be able to interact with and Bullseye and do something big, a
Yeah,
Grodov Stranger, getting a power, and then if you don't have a Permafrost, really taking over is huge.
yeah, really forcing the hand there. All right, here comes that Age-worn Vestige.
I mean, I don't
Going
see any
harsh
reason
roll.
to dazzle this harsh roll if you're
Doesn't.
Popetito,
Yeah, I agree.
but we are probably going to see a Bullseye pop the Age-worn Vestige.
Yep. Bullseye again. Some clutch bullseyes for Popetito, and that is going to let Plunk stick around and draw a card.
Yeah, so now Popetito's like, do I want to run into a Dazzle? You very conveniently have 1 power up, and you went through all this work to pop the Aegis. Not an easy decision. There's also the question of if you get Kenna down, you're making progress towards her ultimate.
Yeah. Whether attack with that Plunk, tough decision. You could say he's like really walking the side of a cliff with it. All
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, so we see Plunk not draw a card and go for Kenna afterwards. That's kind
right.
of like the most unusual of the sequences, I would say. We're
All
gonna
right.
see.
Big Builder's Decree here. That's going to lock out Dazzle. Oh, just going with the 1 cost. All right.
Yeah, and we're doing all of this so that way we can get through the Dazzle and get down to Diana.
It was really nice power usage there, efficiency. Take a
Oh,
card,
man.
wipe the board, play a Diana, and exactly perfectly use your power, and now draw a Grodov Stranger.
And now things are getting dangerous because now this Grodov Stranger, we don't have. I guess there's the Dazzle in a few turns.
Yeah, that's locked out for a few turns.
I guess we might be getting Helio here.
Yeah, I think so. Helio, try to refill. But big Grodov Stranger coming here. Plus the power, the trigger on that Diana. Yeah, I like Spifferific Seat here.
We're getting very close to that Diana ultimate. Next
Yeah,
turn, it's
next
going
turn.
off.
Well, Petito is, yeah, they're going to spend this turn drawing cards.
And putting back that Dazzle worked out really dangerously because we kind of need Dazzle for both of
See,
these.
one torch.
Oh, so
Oh,
Dazzle's gonna come off here. Um, ooh, Stormhawk plating. But how do you not just ultimate the Diana?
wait, so hold up. Didn't, am I missing something here? Popetito had a torch, had power available. It's 4 damage because of the Howling Peak Smuggler. Is there a reason you didn't take out the Diana before we could trigger it?
To hold
Holding up
up
the
the Dazzle,
Dazzle? Oh,
yeah, yeah, that's.
that seems I mean, yes, it worked out, but that seems dangerous when
Oh, I
you
would
have
not say
Diana
it
on
worked. I
board.
would not say it worked out. This is not. I mean, you're gonna get to Dazzle the Stranger here, but
Yeah.
now this is all very risky because now the Howling Peak Smuggler is gonna go away, so you're not gonna have the plus spell damage. The Crafty Occultist might be able to get you enough extra damage if it finds Jotun Hurlers and things like that.
All right, take out both those units. Back for 2, and now we do have that power for next turn.
So Permafrost is great.
Yeah.
Um,
Clutch permafrost for Popetito this match.
the Stormhawk plating a lot less so.
It seems like Spifferific has done a good job of putting forward threats that Popetito has to spend their turn and resources on, and Popetito's never really been able to successfully stick anything because they've been having to deal with Spifferific's threats the whole time.
Yeah, and they line up well generally. Like the one of the things that the Skycrake deck can do is it can combine multiple cards to take care of threats, but Spifferific's threats are really making them work for it.
Yeah.
And so now Stormhawk plating
Gonna
is
be able to take care of that Jack and hit for 7, and now that's basically a 1-turn clock, but it is down to 2 armor.
yeah, kind of an awkward draw there. I mean, I guess you could just play the Serpent first. There's no rush. It'll trade with the plating. But once you're this low on cards, if you're Popetito, you almost would love to find a way to draw 2.
They're gonna keep digging, use that strategize. Now, Spifferific is if Spifferific pulls a Wrath effect, right? They can. Oh, 2 snowballs. All right, 2 snowballs will take it out. That works.
Okay.
Like you said, pairing up the cards and the answers together to take care of them.
Yeah. A
Another
Jotun
hurler.
Hurler and a Maveloft Huntress. Oh, this is a big one.
All right, let's play the speaking circle game. Seen some lots of good hits today. Let's see if Spifferific can bring it up.
Levitate.
Levitate.
Yeah.
Reroll.
Must have been a pretty bad set, I think, if you're taking
Yeah.
Levitate here. You'd love any kind of attachment kill. Display of
Collective
Instinct's
instinct.
super funny. You could bounce the Grodov Stranger back to your hand. Haunting
Haunting
Scream.
scream.
Whoa.
What can we get with that? Just
Well, if you can survive and you Haunting Scream a
they did do the play of bouncing the Grodov Stranger back.
right.
Huh.
Well, we can Huntress the Occultist, kill the Grodov Stranger, that unlocks the Occultist, and then kill
So,
the site,
yeah.
assuming there's no Defiance. Yeah, but if you Haunting Scream the Diana, you could ultimate at the same turn. That would have been hilarious.
Wow. Yeah, but that, of course, would have had to do the following turn. Yeah, Popetito again. I mean, you said it a couple turns ago, but somehow it feels like they have to 2-for-1 themselves every time. But I guess they just have so much value advantage and card advantage that it's okay trading 2 resources for 1. pairing up a couple different removal spells, using a killer attack, and plus a torch, things like that that they've been doing all game here. But it's worked. It's taking care of all of Spifferific's threats, and now they're the ones with units left behind.
Yeah. Now Spifferific doesn't, or Popetito rather, doesn't have any sort of like ongoing card advantage. So in play, so Spifferific's got a moment here to catch their breath, draw a few cards. We're gonna see Kenna come down because she can start making progress towards her ultimate, which would be enormous. Um,
That gonna force Spifferic's hand on the Shenris turn.
Really
I
excellent
think
play here
so.
to
Yeah.
not play out the Jack because
Yeah.
now Popetito's gonna be able to play Jack, draw, get a treasure trove, and then they're gonna be able to start, if Sifrific doesn't top deck something, really get going with
Right.
that.
Yeah. Very heads up play by Popetito there. All right, Kenna and Jack.
Yeah, so we're really going in now. Popetito's trying to take advantage of this window where they think
Hmm,
Spifferific doesn't have anything.
well,
Yeah, Age Worn Vestige gonna
this
spellcraft a harsh rule.
you play these cards. You put these cards in your deck to play them, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, one of the things about we've seen this now a couple of times. Spifferific has a couple of just great top decks between Stormhall Plating, Age Worn Vestige, Grodov Stranger, and it comes up in these
They
games.
really do. And look at this. Can't even really play out that plunk because it just dies. But that's also awkward because then you take 4 and you're at 6 health.
Yeah, I mean they're gonna need to play it out. And they
Yeah.
don't have to this turn. They can wait one more turn and try to top deck a bullseye. Let's see how many new beginnings we get. We're gonna get multiples. Yeah, I mean this is another card which can be a phenomenal top deck.
Equalize. Yeah. With a good weapon and no units, Equalize can actually do a lot of work.
Well, Equalize is gonna end this game here
Yeah,
because it'll
absolutely.
clear out the plunk.
It. Popetito can't try anything else. That can clear out the plunk and attack for 4. What a back and forth game one. Unbelievable.
That was actually a very risky thing that just happened there. It worked out for Spifferific. If Popetito had top decked a bullseye
Yeah.
and that Equalize gets played, that's Popetito's last card in hand, and they lose the Diana.
Yeah.
But they didn't. It worked out.
It worked
Spifferific is up a
out.
game against Popetito here. But that was yeah. I mean these are some back and forth games, and
This
you
is
know,
wild. We've had some wild games tonight. Good players on good decks going back and forth. Let's take a quick look at Spifferific's Combrade control deck. There were like 3 times during that match where I thought I was fully convinced that the other person was going to win, and then it just bounced back and forth over and over. And somehow, as soon as Popetito, I felt like finally stabilized and turned the corner, Spifferific just goes, "Well, top of my deck is good, so top deck, Age Worn Vestige, take it." And Popetito
that
even
is
played around it
definitely one
too.
of the strengths of Spifferific's belt. If you look at their non-power cards, very few of them are bad top decks, and a lot
Yeah,
of them get much better as the game goes on. Coveted Gemstone, Builder's Decree, A New Beginning, Diana Faith's Shield, Age
yeah.
Worn Vestige. These are all cards which you could do more with when you have more power. And considering the deck has a bunch of ramp, you're probably going to get there.
All right, Spifferific gonna
Oh
keep 7 with a Pillar of Progress, Equalize, and Speaking
wow,
Circle.
Popetito kept this hand with their tournament on the line. I
Ah, that is that's a hand with not a lot going on.
It's certainly risky to redraw in this spot, but
Sure.
you get down to 6, your hand might be even worse, but some of these cards just don't do anything for so long in these games. Now,
Oh,
Crafty
Crasty's a
Occultist
good
is the
draw.
first sort of,
Yeah,
we don't have any units to ditch, but at least we can get rid of like this early permafrost.
yeah, that was a really important draw there for Popetito to keep this going. There's a Kenna, strategize, refresh that hand a little bit.
Yeah, that equalize is going to be good sooner or later. And
They're gonna have if they can set up an Equalize into a uncontested Speaking Circle or Adrian Vestige into that, that's gonna be really tough for Popetito to deal with. Speaking Circle on an empty board.
yeah, and right now Popetito's got a way. Do they want to play out Kenna? It's very complicated. Like if you play Kenna first, you're making progress towards the ultimate, but maybe then a Defiance that would have gotten played doesn't get played because you're going to harsh rule the board or Shenra speaks the board instead. If you equalize, you're killing both units, and Spifferific would have to discard a card. There's no obvious good play here for Spifferific, but they are going to go for this, which is kind of a 2 for 2. It just happens that you're getting Popetito's 2 best cards.
Yeah. All right, strategize. Popetito going to keep trying to sculpt their hand. That's a big bullseye draw there, plus a Huntress.
It is, and Popetito's going to have to weigh if they might want to just bullseye the Pillar of Progress, but I
Hmm.
think at this point of the game, you have to know you're going to be dealing with bigger relics sooner or later.
Yeah, and this is what I was thinking a couple turns ago. Spifferific hitting the speaking circle on an empty board going to be really hard for Popetito to be able to pressure the speaking circle at all,
Huru Blueprint's not one of the better ones, but it
except
will
for the
get them a
bullseye, of
Justice
course.
Sigil.
Yeah.
It's other next is going to be a Boar. Well, this is a terrible speaking
Yeah,
circle
that's
so far. Though it is always going to be a lot harder to get a good speaking circle when you have no units and the enemy has no units.
that
A
is
lot of
true. A
spells in the
lightning
game
storm.
Jesus.
Woo! Not your best speaking circle, but it's still a
No.
speaking circle that Popetito either needs to use a bullseye, otherwise they can't really pressure it very well. And Queen of
Where's the
Glass.
Wisdom of Elders or the Frostburn when you need one?
Yeah,
A mug. A mug would be would be a good mugging right now would have been nice. All right, so Popetito, that bullseye can get speaking circle down to 1 durability. They were really hoping to draw something like a Howling Peak Smuggler.
ooh, Builder's Decree. Interesting. Okay. So that lightning storm
Yeah, this was
is actually going to do something here, which is kind of
no,
funny.
it did. I mean, Popetito's gonna
Forcing a
dazzle,
dazzle off of that lightning storm. Wow.
but now this is tough because now the Age Worn Vestige is gonna get a
Yeah.
unit, not gonna get bullseyed first.
Hmm. Yeah, well,
Okay, this
that's a
is a
good
big
draw.
deal, right? Because we can hit Jack and face.
Right. And now you can kill the site with that and then hit phase
Right.
two. So yeah, that was a really good draw for Popetito there.
I mean, the double amplified Builder's Decree is gonna be a
Yeah,
disaster, though.
that's the problem.
I imagine it'll lock out the Permafrost. The Relic Weapon's gonna kill the Jack.
This is a situation where
Oh, we drew another
another
Permafrost,
permafrost.
and Popetito gives it up.
So that
Wow.
was interesting. Last game we talked a couple times about how Popetito had to pair up resources in order to take out all the threats that Spifferific had, but they were able to do it, and they were able to keep their card draw flowing where it didn't hurt them. That game, they had to spend all those resources, and they just had nothing left. There was nothing left in the tank. Spifferific had plenty more, so well done, Spifferific. Congratulations, Spifferific, on making it to the finals against Dark Revenger, but Dark Revenger has played pretty well against Combray so far tonight, so they are no stranger to the matchup.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting finals. We've got the undefeated against somebody who just sort of won the matchup, and so we're going to get to find out, does Spifferific have a great Combray busting or a great Sky Craig busting build, or is Dark Avenger just unbeatable this weekend? Why don't we take a few minutes? We'll give Spifferific a chance to catch a breather, and then we'll get started with the finals.
All right, sounds good. Thanks everybody for hanging out. We got the finals coming up in a couple minutes. Let's give the players a chance to a couple minute break, and we'll be back with the finals shortly. See you soon, everybody.